without recognition, without nationality, بدون citizens in Kuwait. بدون in Kuwait lives between two lifestyles, a life of welfare that surrounds them and a life of fear that dominates them. What does it mean for them to be classified under the category of بدون in Kuwait, in the country of oil and constitutional rights? According to the United Nations charters, it's not permissible for a person to be without an identity and a nationality, to take refuge in a world that is mainly based on obtaining a recognized identity and nationality to know his basic human rights. Although the problem of stateless persons is spread almost all over the world, it is considered more evident and a tragedy in Kuwait. And due to its seriousness, it can be said that the بدون problem in Kuwait analyses what can be called the diaspora and the homeland.
هذه تيمة المركز الأساسي للبدون. مثل ما تشوفون مساحة البيوت تقريبا من 100 إلى 150 من الطوب والصفيح.
This is why the بدون group are making every effort to gain official recognition of their rights, to enjoy the nationality that they are striving to obtain from the government that still doesn't recognize this right. The only recognition that the بدون receives in Kuwait is the legal definition, as Kuwaiti law refers to these people as stateless persons. They complain of discrimination against them on all levels and the difficulty of enjoying basic state services such as education, housing, employment, healthcare, and others. The story of the بدون in Kuwait began with the tribes people who, after the emergence of oil in Kuwait, they changed from Kuwaitis to Kuwaitis Bedouins, non-Kuwaitis, stateless, and finally to illegal residents. Practically, the بدون problem was not of significant meaning before Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in August 1990. The بدون enjoyed many of the privileges that Kuwaiti citizens could obtain. After the liberation of Kuwait from the Iraqi invasion in February 1991, the government authorities launched a violent clearance campaign against the بدون under the pretext of their cooperation with the Iraqi occupation. This violent policy caused the migration of thousands of stateless persons from Kuwait to other parts of the world as refugees. It reduced their number to between 90 and 110,000 people by 2010. They also lost most of their privileges during this period, including access to government jobs, free healthcare, or even to obtain birth and marriage certificates. The بدون became deprived of basic rights such as education, healthcare, and the right to employment.
قايل في تصريح لك من البدون قمريون وسيتم منحهم جنسية جزر القمر.
In 2014, a controversial statement was issued by the Assistant Under-Secretary of the Ministry of the Interior, where he said that tens of thousands of stateless people بدون could obtain the economic citizenship of the Republic of Comoros as they register as citizens of the African country, whereas those who come to this step will receive government facilities represented by permanent residency, free education, and health care. Naturally, the statement faced angry reactions from the بدون, who considered it is a great insult to them, which led to the failure to implement any of its contents.
وبالنسبة لجزر القمر هذا كلام فاضي طبعا.
والله الدولة هي جزر القمر، تأكدنا الحين وتبينت الخطة واضحة. طبعا هذه تعتبر جريمة اتجار بالبشر دولية.
The بدون were held demonstrations to demand their rights in the Jahra area in 2011, in which they clashed with the Kuwaiti police and injured some of them. And after the Kuwaiti National Assembly refused to rediscuss the بدون rights report, so a free بدون youth group and many committees and organizations were established, seeking to internationalize their case with the help of a third party to obtain their rights. And the actions of the representatives of the National Assembly were directed towards the necessity of solving the بدون problem to save Kuwait's international reputation.
المشكلة في هذه القضية بالذات أن هناك من يستحق الجنسية يجب أن يجنس، وهناك من لا يستحق الجنسية يجب أن يتعامل معه بطريقة أخرى. كل هذا لم يتم. تصريحات بعض المسؤولين في وزارة الداخلية هنا وهناك، نحن كمشرعين لا تعنينا لا من قريب ولا من بعيد، وإنما ما يعنينا ماذا ستقدم الحكومة لحل هذه المشكلة ولحل هذه الأزمة.
Also, the decision to naturalize 2,000 people annually will not solve this issue for 50 years, as Kuwait is under criticism from international human rights organizations and embarrassment in international forums.
We would like to draw the Council's attention to Kuwait's ongoing human rights violations, especially concerning non-citizen and stateless person, also known as Bedouin, in contravention to recommendations it received during its second cycle UPR in 2015.
This was my first incident to see Tayma and to see how the stateless people live in Kuwait. And when I entered these houses, I realized that there is a great difference between what we live in as Kuwaitis and how the people in Tayma or the stateless people in Kuwait are living. The standards of living are totally different. And it's not just about poverty, it's about complications. It's complicated life in general. And for me, one of the very major, apart from poverty, complications, and all sort of marginalization that I felt when I was there, one of the main incidents that really affected me is that the story of a young girl who died in this fire, and she was 13 years old. And when I was talking to her auntie and her father, they were very much in tears because the girl didn't have a birth certificate, neither a death certificate. And for me, this was very, very cruel. I mean, to realize that there's a person who have been deprived of any kind of identity. She's been 13 years in life, but there's no evidence that she has ever existed.
We are reaching now to a point that we stop anymore to give evidence to everyone that we are related to Kuwait, because finish. Already we done a lot, and everyone know that exactly that we are Kuwaitis, we are citizens, but the government having another plan. So the community itself, alhamdulillah, thanks to God, that we reached to the point that all the community know exactly the Bedouin related to Kuwait, but there is some a problem between the government and us. It's like what you call it, مشكلة سياسية. Okay, yeah, political problem, yes. Yeah.
Despite this, the Bedouin group still lives hope in solving their problem and recognizing their rights to acquire a nationality and the nation's recognition of them as citizens. And until that hope is achieved, the Bedouin will continue to live with fear and organized exclusion.
أنا كويتي وأبوي كويتي وجدي كويتي، وراح نظل في هذه الأرض حتى يشاء الله عز وجل.